Good afternoon and welcome to a very special interview show of the Prode. For over 60 years, India has upheld the Indus Water Treaty as an act of extraordinary goodwill, a commitment to cooperation even in the face of wars and cross-border terrorism. But on 22nd April 2025, that goodwill met a grim reality. In the town of Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir, two terrorists launched a barbaric attack on innocent tourists, killing 26 civilians in one of its deadliest strikes in recent history. The Indian government blamed Pakistani state for sponsoring cross-border terrorism and put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. To discuss the Indus Water Treaty and its current state of abeyance, I'm glad to be joined by Neeraj Singh Manhas, Special Advisor for South Asia at the Parley Policy Initiative. Thank you so much, Ms. Neeraj, for your time and a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ritvich, for your invite. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, so I would like to begin the conversation by asking that India has called the Indus Water Treaty a pillar of goodwill for over 6 decades. So, in light of the recent provocations, do you think New Delhi's decision to hold the treaty in abeyance reflects strategic maturity rather than a legal defiance?
Okay, just to start this question, I would definitely, start it with the thing that, whatever happened on April 22nd, at Pahalgam massacre, where 26 innocent civilians were killed by the Islamic terrorists, just gunned down on the name of religion. That was a very cowardly attack by, from the Pakistan. But now coming to the point, why India has taken up this step and why it was important at that point of a time. We could have taken more strong action also, but then we thought we want to move ahead with the diplomatically more in a sense that how we can also held our position in such a state where we can also try and put this thing in front of other countries also, that what steps we can also take it when it comes for the cross border terrorism. So I see this kind of a decision when India took it, like on, I think it took them 24 hours or 48 hours to rethink what should be the course of action India should take. So yeah, finally after that, I believe that India's decision of holding up the IWT in abeyance, really reflects a very strategic maturity, because it prioritizes the national security more, and sovereignty also, and over the rigid adherence of the strained what Pakistanis did just in the name of cross-border terrorism. And we have also seen that over the past 6 decades, India upheld this IWT as a symbol of goodwill, and where we have ensured that Pakistan should access to the 80% of the Indus basin's water, despite repeated provocation. What we saw, because this treaty has survived 3 wars from 1970, 65, then 71, and then in 1999 the Kargil war happened. And apart from that, from 2000 year onwards, we have seen number of infiltration or the cross border terrorism was happening, just like that. And finally in the year 2016, when the Uri attack happened, our prime minister also stated a very famous quote, which was highlighted during this abeyance also, that blood and water cannot flow together. If they want to compliance this bilateral treaty, so they will have to stop this cross border terrorism. So why we should be giving 80% of the share of water to them and just keeping 20% of it? So that was the overall scenario which was actually built up, but unfortunately just with the lives of 26 innocent people. So I believe that this was a very strategic move, and this was a very maturity of Indian foreign service or the government of India, how they see it. Because most of the time, the countries, they believe in that they are going to use the hard power. Instead of that, we retaliated in a very smart way. But I would say that we use the smart diplomacy here. Just also try to tell them that if you will not stop, what kind of a repercussion you will also face in the long term, because it is a kind of a nerve which we have caught hold this time. And what I am seeing is that Indian media, like the whole global media, what they are trying to portray is that India has now stopped the water, now Pakistan will have its repercussion. And so I just want to clarify here that we have not taken out our whole hands from the treaty. it was a bilateral treaty. It was not an international treaty. It was for the goodwill of Indian side to the Pakistan, that they were our brotherhood. They separated from us in 1947. So just we wanted to have a peaceful neighbor. But now what we are seeing, that the kind of a narrative which was built from Pakistan end was very, very, very indifferent what we think as in a form of a good neighbor. So I believe that this treaty has a very, strategic maturity at the moment, what the government has done. But in the coming time, we will also have to see that how much more, the renegotiation, because our point was we always wanted to renegotiate in the treaty. But from the Pakistan end, it was always, they were trying to halt our, developmental programs on the rivers, or they were trying to oppose or going to the arbitration. So that doesn't serve any purpose. So, we would like to see what comes up in the future. Like, more and more discussions are happening around, and no matter this has taken a very bad turn, but I would also want to see that if both the countries can also internally work on their water infrastructure or the management more, because that is also a very integral part, and it would certainly help the lifeline of, it can help the people around.
Yeah, so you mentioned about the water infrastructure, and a lot of experts in India and across the world have argued that India does not have necessarily infrastructure actually to stop the water flow to Pakistan. So, how do you address this, and how do you see this whole debate?
Okay. I also agree with that sort of a narrative which was building up. I agree that from the past 65 odd years, when this treaty was signed in 1960, our main motive was always to, have a peaceful relation with Pakistan. We signed similar agreement. We, started our Lahore bus, friendship thing. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, our former prime minister and honorable, he was given a Bharat Ratna also. For he has actually been a pillar when he thought that, he also want to have a peaceful neighbor. And he also went to Lahore in the, just for a, creating a peaceful atmosphere. But how Pakistan retaliated in a way, in such a incident, till things were going good. But after that Uri attack, I remember that we stopped our whole trade, with the Pakistan. We were not doing any trade, and so certain time they have also shut the airspace also for India. We were going from, the Iran, wherever we wanted to travel. But now look at the situation. The situation has come to such a point where, you don't even want to talk. You don't even want to mediate with each other. There is and all the UN or the international community or the countries are also not ready to although we do not require such kind of a thing. It was an internal thing between both the countries. They are mature enough to do it. But look at the maturity which is coming from Pakistan. I mean, whatever we are giving them on hand record, that these are your terrorists, or these are the problems where things can be worked just to improve the water relation. Because this treaty was also cited as one of the world's most successful treaty, because it has actually faced and witnessed these hardships, in terms of military. But yeah, I believe also that the political, the leadership or the political biasness was also always there, when these things were happening between the countries. But nothing happened, or no one touched upon the this bilateral treaty. So now imagine that, it has come to such a point that, India has to take a very huge step, and just in abiding, this treaty. Although this term abeyance itself is a very strategic term which was used by the government of India within the international law. If you see, there is no meaning you will find it in the international law itself, which itself makes a very difficult case for the Pakistan and for the international community to defend this. All we are saying in New Delhi is citing and saying that just in the name of cross-border terrorism, or just killing people, innocent people, just in the name of religion, is not enough. They will have to stop, and till the time they don't agree on these points, we will not abide. Will till the time we'll halt this Indus Water Treaty and will not ready to talk or renegotiate. So, but from the Pakistan's end, what we saw that a kind of a aggression was seen, and they are seeing it as an act of war. Certainly, any country would see it, because a lower riparian country and an upper riparian country, in terms of water, we have always seen that a kind of a comparison is seen when both the countries are compared. But certainly India's point of view, or the gesture was never ever like that, that we always wanted to take our reverse course from our to our end, and we want to do not want to give the water to our lower riparian country. That was never ever a case. But now the situation has come to a point where we will have to take such kind of a measures, not militarily, but yeah, certainly some diplomatic way. Although Pakistan has also gone or raised their grievances to the international community, specifically the World Bank, which was the mediator of this Indus Water Treaty. But from them also, they are not giving any kind of a positive sign as of now to Pakistan. And certainly, because the case is more strong on India side, what the experts and we are analyzing it at the moment. But the growing problem would also certainly come to the Pakistan, because Pakistan is a lower riparian country, and within Pakistan itself, the water security is a growing challenge currently, and a lot of things would happen if the water would not be given to them on time. Although we have not disturbed or disrupting the water flow, because if we would do that, because the growing talks are happening that India would divert, and India currently do not have a infrastructure, I agree. But on a point and on a scale, India would definitely require a 1 decade or so to work on the creating such kind of a water infrastructure. There they can also build a lot of reservoirs, they can store water. Although currently India has a storage capacity of 220 days, which is itself is more other than the all South Asian countries. And the highest, if I would to say, I think it is 700 days in Egypt. And Pakistan cannot hold water just more than 15 to 20 days. So look at the situation. And I'm not denying there is a huge difference between India and Pakistan here. But just my only point and my only argument here is that if they will stop the cross-border terrorism, India is ready to negotiate in the terms of Indus Water Treaty. But we will also have to renew this Indus Water Treaty. There were a lot of changes which we have been talking about from the past 2000. It is the right time where things can be molded.
Yeah, so you talked about cross-border terrorism. So my question to you is that with terrorism undermining the trust that forms the basis of the Indus Water Treaty, how can India advocate for reforms or reinterpretations of Cold War era treaties like the IWT to reflect the new and 21st century threats?
Okay, so in the non-traditional threat, there are the number of threats which are coming and emerging right now. The first one is climate security or the climate change impact. From the past 1 decade, what we are witnessing, the whole world is actually witnessing the climate change impacts. Like, for example, the in the monsoon time, the monsoon time is decreasing day by day. The global warming, the mean rising temperature of the earth is increasing by 2x. The glaciers which are on the top of the roof of the top, where the Tibet, the Hindu Kush Himalayas, they're melting at a speed of very high. And which is actually giving a origination of all these major rivers which are coming to South Asia, India, Pakistan, and all the major rivers. For example, this Indus water, Brahmaputra, Ganges, all are coming from the Hindu Kush Himalayas. That is the Tibetan, which is also known as the water tower of Asia. So all the impacts are coming on all these natural resources, which are basically giving a origination to all the rivers. So we can actually feel the kind of impact of all the climate change. But certainly what I see, because India from the past, because in 1960 when this treaty was signed, not even the climate change, not even the heat stroke, not even any kind of other disaster were discussed at that point of a time. In 1960, when this treaty was signed, India's population was around 455 million. and right now it is 1.46 billion. It has increased upon like 3.2 times. If I talk about Pakistan population at that point of a time was 45 million. Now it's 225 million. It has also increased up to 2.5 more times. At that point. But the population was itself not the big reason. There were other reasons also, like for example, urbanization, industrialization. These were some of the areas which really requires a huge number of water, and the agriculture itself. 80 to 90% of the agriculture was based on based on water in India when the green revolution started in India. And in the Pakistan itself, the 80% of the water is again, the people were dependent on agriculture. But now the growing time, when the climate change is coming, it is actually exaggerated more and more. We do not have more choices with us. Whatever the new development in the terms of science and technology we are doing, but we are not able to curb this kind of a solution. We are not able to find more solution to the water security. So what I feel that India requested for a renegotiation, because in the Indus Water Treaty Commission itself, Article 12 and 13, Clause 2 and 3, they talk about if any kind of a modification or renegotiation country feels between them, if the both the commissioner or from the both the countries, they feel that there is a need of renegotiation, they can they can talk about remodification. But we have been doing that so far. So many times we requested for remodification. We talked about climate change. We talked about urbanization. We talked about population. But they always cited that India is doing it for their own benefit. They want to weaponize the water. They want to construct the hydropower dams on the Western River, which were actually given to Pakistan at that point of a time. So I'm citing here the example of Kishan Ganga and the Rattle Dam, where Pakistan have always objected that India is trying to construct a dam and which is going to abrupt the water flows of Pakistan. But I want to tell to your audience that that was not the thing. India complies this Indus Water Treaty. Just all the dams which were made, they were made on the run of the river. They were, because we do not have a water reservoir kind of a, like, unlike what China does. China stores the water also, and they do not give the water also. They totally control the water. But it was constructed on the run of the river dam. So that also Pakistan has a problem, and they even eventually gone to the arbitration. Negotiation happened. World Bank team came to Jammu and Kashmir. They visited the dam. Sometimes they cited a reason that whatever the dams you are creating, constructing, it is more in terms of height. So we try to reduce the dam also size also. But certainly what we are seeing that in the February 2025 itself, when this Pahalgam thing was did not happen, so that neutral committee also given a positive side to India, that India has really compliance all the adherence to the Indus Water Commission.
Yeah.
And the neutral,
Yeah.
so certainly everything was crystal and clear. India has never ever tried to uphold or unilaterally doing decision just like that. It was happening because the cross border terrorism, and just in the name of religion, you have started killing people, and we were very much extra generous just to give you water 80%, 90%. So that was not the thing. We want to renegotiation, and that is how, if things would be there, India is ready to talk.
Yeah, and how do you look at the China angle? Because a lot of experts have been also arguing about the China angle in the whole situation. So, how do you see China in this hold in this water treaty debates?
Certainly, just want to start with the thing when the similar thing happened with between India and China in 2017, Doklam standoff. So, in during at that point of time, also China stopped sharing data with India, citing that there is a kind of a technical or logistical reason. Okay, but to a lower riparian country, Bangladesh, they were giving they were sharing the water, they were sharing the data to them. So that was a kind of a moment we got to know that how China tries to manipulate in terms of data. Okay, Now, coming to the point where China stands in this whole scenario, even I asked the same question to Dr. S. Shankar. I think in the month of May, I asked him the same question. So his stance was also very much clear that China has no role in it. It is an internal matter of between India and Pakistan at the moment. We are working on the mechanism how things can be worked between both the countries. If China tries to come in, it would not be a kind of a fruitful resolution to it. But what we saw from the China's angle and China's social media, we saw that certain number of fake narrative was going on in the media that if India did not resolve the Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan, China also tries to block the Brahmaputra. So this was a kind of a narrative which was built up on Twitter. Secondly, on the WeChat also, some of the Chinese, they were, trying to gauge this kind of a news also very, very closely. So there was certain number of discussions on this kind of a narrative building also. But certainly I see that the current spokesman of China's, they did not talk about such kind of a, incident between India and Pakistan at the moment. But certainly, as both the countries are very much close to each other, they call themselves as a ironclad brothers. So I certainly doubt they might not indulge directly at the moment, but certainly they would try to support Pakistan indirectly in terms of some kind of a money or some narrative building, or maybe with the help of some psychological warfare. So that could be the scenario. But as we are also facing the same kind of a issue with China, so we know that how tactfully we also we will have to deal with China in the same, because both the cases are also seen in cases of two front war situation, not directly but indirectly. So that is how the water can be used as a weaponized weapon in case of both Pakistan and China. But Pakistan in this case are lower riparian, and China is in a case of upper riparian to us. So that is again a situation to us. But I certainly see that Pakistan at the moment is not, talking about it in this term, but certainly there was some kind of a discussions.
Yeah, so what message does India's decision send to the international community about the limits of patience and the need for reciprocal commitment to transboundary water governance?
Okay, I believe that, see, in the international law, all the major countries, are adhering to the 1992 Convention of Water Law. But China, India, both the countries, and even I think I certainly doubt that Pakistan is also again not a part of it. But there is, a sense of responsibilities of the riparian countries when we talk about it. Upper riparian countries have a certain number of duties which they have to adhere. They have to share the equal amount of water to the lower riparian countries, and the lower riparian countries also have a certain number of duties. And similarly, in case of India and China, India is a middle riparian country. So middle riparian country also need to see that how much kind of a cooperation which is coming from the upper riparian and from the lower riparian to the middle riparian. So I believe that the kind of a message, we Indians or the government of India is sending to the international community is very much clear that nothing can be compromised in terms of national security or national sovereignty, I would say. Because, you yourself can see in Uri attack after Pahalgam, then if we leave this case as it is here, citing it that we are demanding for a neutral probe, or we want evidence, I think the time will not come where we will also have a renegotiation. We will not have a equal table of where the equal representation of talks can happen. So certainly I believe that all the international community and the countries are also would also certainly look this example as in terms of that how countries can also diplomatically go in this way. Although we have never ever said that we have taken out our hands from it, we have just suspended for a moment till the time our diplomatic relation and our Pakistan never did not give us in writing or adhere to this, that they will stop funding or doing the cross-border terrorism against India. And certainly more other challenges in terms of Indus Water Treaty will also come if we will not try to address the water security within the country in India and Pakistan. Because in Pakistan itself, the growing water security challenges are there. I mean, you just forget about Indus Water Treaty. Pakistan itself will be dead if they will not sort out their internal challenges of water within their own province of Punjab and Sindh, where Punjab is a upper riparian and Sindh is a lower riparian. Within themselves are they facing and fighting for water for a very very long time. And
Yeah.
Punjab is now trying to construct a dam, so that will again create a problem to their own country people in Sindh. So the growing challenges are there, and certainly this sends a very big message to the international community that a lot of things needs to be done in this field also.
Yeah. So, any message do you want to share with the international community about the India-Pakistan conflict in general and the Pahalgam attack in general? Because there has been a lot of misinformation and disinformation around this, and people have often equated India and Pakistan on the same table when discussing about the whole situation.
Okay, so since the time this Pahalgam thing happened, and I was like the whole world was in specifically the Indian side, whatever the news were reflecting from Pakistan, and it was totally fake. The kind of a narrative which they were trying to build, it was just on a biased, and the fake, false information was it was portrayed. And so that is how Indian government also thought that they would ban certain number of YouTube channel or a few people that who were trying to create a disinformation. But certainly there was a there was no kind of a exchange of information which was happening until the time India retaliated. A lot of things were happening in the relation between both the countries. Certainly, the narrative or the message I would like to give to the international community is that see, most of the time a lot many countries they think about mediating the kind of a problem between India and Pakistan, or within the case of India and China also I've seen. Like in this case, Iran thought to mediate. They thought that India Pakistan can come together, but we had given them a very good reply that both the like India is very well sufficient itself, that they can handle up this situation currently, and they would not require any kind of international interference of any other country. So certainly I believe that India as a country is a very well mature in this sense, and lot many new initiatives, and certainly within this year itself, I believe lot many talks will happen. Although Pakistan now, what we are seeing that they have been writing a lot of letters to Indian government that please start the Indus Water Treaty. Or the summers are starting, or monsoons. If the data will not be shared, our people will be under flood, or there will be no water. So certainly, I believe that that would be seen, and things would be talked about in. But I doubt about it, because if they will not stop the terrorism or the cross-border terrorism, that's the main point where India has now focused more, and they have totally strict, that they are not going to work beyond that point.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Neeraj, for sharing your thoughts with us. India's decision to pause parts of the Indus Water Treaty isn't just about ending cooperation, it's about sending a clear message that peace can't be one sided. And in today's world, even long standing treaties need to reflect on new challenges. Thank you so much once again for taking out the time. See you next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this.